So when Herod said to the wise men, "You go to Bethlehem, find the Christ child, come back to me," they knew something was wrong. I mean, here is a man who is so powerful, who could dispatch soldiers and send them to Bethlehem, find the Christ child, bring the Christ child and his family back to the palace so that they all could worship him. But there was this power that was in Herod's life. And he could hear the motors that had been whizzing, slowing down. One of the things that I think happens during any kind of transition, including that of me as senior pastor, is that you will no doubt experience a lot of whizzes. There will be all kinds of little power surges. And those are difficult to deal with. But we expect those. Those are going to be normal things that will take place. We have to be careful as Christians sometimes when Satan steps into our hearts and gives us a tremendous power, a desire even. You know, there's a difference. There is the power to do something where you say, I could do it if I wanted to. But Satan can sometimes take that power a little bit more and say, man, that's what I want, and I have the power to do it. And we've seen that demonstrated last week as Visa and MasterCard and some of the other major companies have just been locked up by people who said, we have the power to do something, and we can exercise that power. Believers have to be so careful that we don't mistake our own power for that of the Holy Spirit. Now, if God leads you to, step into Visa and clog up their machinery, then you do it. But just make sure that God is leading you. Because the power that comes from within and the power of the Holy Spirit, they both work. But only one accomplishes God's purpose, and that is the power of the Holy Spirit. Darlene and I have a van, and we hope to use it one day when we are doing some traveling. There are a couple of long journeys that we would like to take, and so we're sort of laying out the plans to do that. The unique thing about the van is you can pull it into a campground or you can park it in your driveway, and there is an electrical cord with an adapter, and you can plug it in. And that van will work perfectly. All the lights and motors and everything will work on the basis of the electricity. And you could stay in that campground forever. But the van also has a generator. And on the wall, there is a little digital counter. And the generator has a life. And as you begin to use it, the counter clicks. You can literally hear the generator get weak, give up its power. You can go a long time on a generator. But at some point, you've got to come to the moment of realization that that generator has to be recycled. And it gets scary when you're at a point in your life where you begin to hear the tick-tick in the background. Those of you who are parents, the Whitsons are here this morning. You have three, almost to be, teenagers right now. So you think this is the golden time in your family. This is the time we really need for our kids. Now, those of you like Dr. Jim Price, you can tell Bill that actually he's running on the generator right now. He is ticking down. Your control over your three children is less than what it was 10 years ago. And doesn't that scare us as a parent? And I think that's one of the things that I bring to this Christmas that I've never had before. I've never come to a Christmas where I was looking at transitioning from a position. And that is the most frightening thing. Someone met me in the hallway and said, we're going to be out of town for a couple of weeks, and we love you, but we just can't think that when we get back, you won't be there. That's the ticking of the clock. But we're not relying on that kind of power. We are relying on power that comes from God, and that power is unlimited. God will continue to do great things in our lives. So we're not to be afraid to let God's power control our lives. The last thing I want to share with you from the experience of the wise men is that we learn from their experience that eventually we can find ultimate power in God. The very moment that Adolf Hitler died, he realized what he had always wanted to have. He stood face to face with God, who had ultimate power. King Nero killed thousands of Christians. He wanted to rule his empire well. Julius Caesar went to the ends of the earth to be the king of the earth. But at the moment of death, they all stood face to face with the God of the universe. Verse 9, after the wise men had heard the king, they went on their way. And the star they had seen in the east went ahead of them until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw the star, they were overjoyed. On coming to the house, they saw the child with his mother Mary, and they bowed down and worshiped him. Then they opened their treasures and presented him with gifts of gold and of incense and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to go back to Herod, they returned to their own country by another route. The song that John and Betsy played just before the sermon was Beautiful Star of Bethlehem. That is probably my all-time favorite Christmas hymn. Because how often do you find yourself like the shepherds and the wise men, knowing that you need to be somewhere that you're not, knowing that you need to be doing something that you're not, knowing that you just haven't quite grasped God's will for your life. And that's where I am. I know God's working in my life. Sometimes it is so crystal clear, it's like seeing the Star of Bethlehem shining in the sky. I have so much peace. And then sometimes it's like a fog moves in and, I get a little scared. I lose a little bit of the confidence that I have. And that doesn't apply just to me, but that's true of all of you. Sometimes as parents, we know exactly what to say to our children, and other times we just look at one another in confusion. Not quite sure what to say, not quite sure how to do it. And yet we've realized that how we deal with our times where God is leading us and how we deal with our times of uncertainty are so important. They impact the lives of others. And certainly the decisions that we make impact the lives of other people, as the decision made by the wise men to go to King Herod. And King Herod's decision based on what the wise men told him was to kill the Christ child.